Welcome to the Digital Business Evolution Podcast, a place that you can now call home. I know you're creating long-lasting impact in this world, and you absolutely deserve the time, location, career, and financial freedom that you desire. I'm here to guide you with proven strategies, tools, and mindset hacks that I've taught to thousands of business owners. You'll also be hearing from exceptional guests sharing stories of their own personal and business evolution. My name is Jessica DeRose, and I'm here to teach you what I'm learning. We are all inherently worthy, regardless of the number of degrees, awards, and accolades that we've collected along the way. Grab a notebook, a coffee, and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to the show. I'm so excited because today we are talking about something that I know you have dealt with and are probably dealing with. Doesn't matter your age, your size, your industry, all of us have dealt with fear. And I'm sure that you've also allowed fear to get in the way, to block you from moving forward, maybe to block you from starting something new, maybe even to block you from ending something that no longer serves you. We've all seen the acronym before, a couple different acronyms. So fear could stand for false evidence appearing real. It could also stand for forget everything and run. And I've even seen it as face everything and rise. The reason there are so many acronyms for fear and that there's so many memes about fear is because it's something that we all deal with. As humans living the human experience, fear is actually a part of our central nervous system. Fear is a part of us because it is there to keep us safe. Now, back in the day, quite some time ago, fears would come up in order to trigger a response in our body in fight or flight to say, hey, be careful, watch out, this is dangerous. The edge of the cliff, you might fall. The fire, it's hot. Oh my gosh, there's a saber-toothed tiger. Run, right? And so our bodies go into those natural responses still, but what has happened is that the chemical reaction inside of our bodies has not necessarily caught up to how we're living. So a lot of times we'll feel this fear of, I don't want to get on camera. I'm afraid to start my podcast. What if people judge me? What if I fail? What if I'm rejected? And while those feelings are real, the level at which your body is triggered is the same way that it was when you were being chased by a tiger. And we both know that putting up a post on Instagram, while it could feel really scary, it is not nearly as dangerous as being chased by a tiger where you're potentially going to be eaten, right? So this fear that we have is something that we're learning to actually live with, a lot of us. And a lot of us are in a constant state of fight or flight, which is exhausting. And that's actually one of the things that could lead to burnout and adrenal fatigue and exhaustion and apathy when you feel disassociated and you just don't really feel like doing anything, or you're super overwhelmed and feeling anxious and panicky. And so I just want to say before we get into it, number one, I'm not a doctor and we're not talking about all of the medical side of this, but number two, you're not alone. I know that if you're listening to this podcast, you desire more. If you're listening to this podcast, you crave more. And if you're listening to this podcast, I know that you know deep down inside, you're capable of more. It's not just about wanting more impact or more income or more time off or more vacations. It's about that feeling in your gut, like that feeling deep down inside your gut and your heart of, I know that I can do more. I know that I can be more. I know that I'm not reaching my potential. I know there's another level of human that I get to unlock. And I know for me that fear has come up always in my life, always. I can remember times doing gymnastics where I was scared because I didn't want to mess up. I was scared because I didn't want to fall off the balance beam. I was scared because I didn't want to get hurt. But I also know that fear came up around having difficult conversations with friends and family. Oh my gosh, telling my parents I got a bad grade on a test, like the fear that would bubble up, I can feel it right now. I also know that fear has kept me playing small. Fear is what kept me in a job longer than I should have been. Fear is what kept me in that job because I was scared, even at 30, to tell my parents I was going to do something different. Fear is the reason why I struggled with my eating disorder for as many years as I did by myself, because I was afraid to ask for help. I was afraid about the judgment around it. I was afraid that I'd be found out. I was afraid that I wouldn't get better. I was afraid that I'd let myself down. There's fear from so many different angles. And I want to talk about it today because what I've learned is that the fear that we feel and experience is coming up from a very different place. So let's start here. The way that I see life, our journey, and especially our business journey, our entrepreneurial journey, is a river. And our job is just to get from one side of the river to the other side. And we do that by stepping through the river. We step on these little stones. Sometimes there's bigger rocks, but we're kind of walking through this river together. Now, you might not be directly next to somebody or in front or behind somebody, but there are other people in the river. If you look to your left and you look to your right, there are people in the river doing the exact same thing. They're just trying to get across. And that's life, right? We're just trying to get to the other side. Now, without being morbid, the only way to get to the other side is when you actually are no longer here. So it's kind of funny that we're all rushing to get to the riverbank when that's the end of the journey. And that's that whole concept of be here now, enjoy the journey, trust the process. You will get there. It's that full-time faith and knowing and surrendering that you will get there, but also being present with the rock that you're currently standing on. So the way that I look at leadership is the exact same thing as an entrepreneur. I'm crossing the river. It's not about me being better than, faster than, or ahead of anybody else in the river. It's about me being a leader and saying, hey, just an FYI, this rock is really slippery. Hey, I'm peeking over my right shoulder. Anyone that's behind me, I just want to let you know that this one that my right foot is on is really wobbly. Be careful. And it's for me to say, hey, everybody that's in front of me, corner left, you guys, I just found this log. It stretches 10 feet across the river. It's propelling me forward 10 feet. It's collapsing time. If you come back 2 steps, you can actually take this forward. And I just had this visual of Chutes and Ladders, which is so bizarre. Remember that game, Chutes and Ladders? It's like if you fall down a little, you get to climb up a lot. And so my job as a leader, my job as an entrepreneur, my job in this human experience is not to say, I'm ahead of you, I'm better than you, look at me go. And I'm certainly not hoarding the rocks. But I'm just shouting out and letting people know the green ones are slippery. And I just had this visual of Will Ferrell saying, watch out for the yellow ones, right? The cabs, the yellow ones, they hit you, they don't stop. Watch out for the green ones, they're slippery. The small ones sometimes rock. The big ones are really big. Actually, let's pack 10 people on and let's all sit down and have lunch together. Let's hang out here. Let's catch our breath. So when you're going across this river, this is a Steve Jobs quote. It's my favorite quote. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And you have to trust that they'll appear. And so when you think of this visual of these stepping stones, you can't connect the stepping stones looking forward. You don't know which ones you're going to step on. You don't know which ones are going to get you across. But when you look backward, you can take a pulse check. You can take a review. You can take an assessment and you can see not only which ones have you stepped on, which were good, which were bad, which caused challenges, which caused growth, which ones gave you lessons, which ones felt like home, but also how far have you come? Like, stop for a second. How freaking far have you come? It's incredible when you take a moment to pause and look back. The gray area is not standing there for too long. We don't always just want to be looking back. We want to be focused on where we're going. So let's talk about this fear. We are not afraid of fear. Fear is an umbrella. And it holds feelings. It holds feelings like judgment, failure, rejection, worthiness, not being enough, not being loved, not being seen, heard, valued, understood. Fear is a feeling that we have that stems from other feelings. And so when we think of something like rejection, I'm going to challenge you. You are not actually scared of rejection. Hold on. Hear me out. You're not scared of rejection because at whatever point in your life that you are right now, you have been rejected. I can promise you. If you're 17, if you're 28, if you're 39, if you're 54, you have been rejected. So stop for a second. Take a deep breath. When in your life have you been rejected? Maybe you were rejected when you asked somebody out in middle school. Maybe you asked a friend for a play date and they said no. Maybe you gave somebody a gift and they didn't react the way that you wanted them to. Maybe you got a bad grade on a test. You didn't make a sports team. Maybe you experienced something at such a young age that you didn't even necessarily know was rejection until I'm going to bring this up to you right now. So maybe you drew a painting, you made an artwork piece and you gave it to your parents, and maybe they didn't hang it up on the refrigerator. And at this very young age, you experienced them rejecting your artwork. Now, at the time when you're 4 or 6 or whatever, however old you were, you didn't see that as rejection, but that's what you experienced. And so now what has happened is you've taken that experience of I got rejected, and you've brought that with you all of these years, and you've ingrained it into your belief system. You've buried it deep down into your worthiness and your sense of attachment between when I get rejected, I feel ... fill in the blank. And so for me, I share that as an example because that's my story. And I love my parents and there's nothing wrong with them. And I've shared this with them to this day. And, now it's something that we can laugh about. But for so many years, I carried this weight thinking that when I created art, my parents didn't hang it on the refrigerator. And so deep down inside somewhere at a very young age, I equated my artwork to them not loving me, to me not being worthy, to me not feeling valued enough for it to go up on a refrigerator. And so I created this deep story, not a conscious one, a subconscious story that I wasn't safe. My artwork wasn't safe. When I would express myself in that way, I could be rejected, and rejection stinks. It hurts. It really, really, really hurts. And so now as an adult running a business, I go to do something. Maybe I really want to start a podcast for 7 years, but I have this fear that I'm going to get rejected. I have this fear it's not going to be enough. I have this fear that we're not going to have enough listeners, or that I'm going to stumble over my words. And then what? So I bring this fear of rejection with me. When I put up a post, what if nobody likes it? If I create a reel and it doesn't go viral, if I make a course and nobody buys it, there's this underlying fear of rejection. But what I'm here to tell you today is that you're not actually scared of rejection, because it's happened to you before and you've survived, which is ultimately what the body does. That fight or flight is to keep you in survival mode. That's our central nervous system. It's super smart. And so you have been rejected and survived. You've been judged and survived. You've failed and survived. You've been told or felt that you're not enough or not loved, and you've survived. So we're not scared of the thing. We're scared of what we've made the thing mean about us. Light bulb moment. You might be scared of what you've made the thing mean about you. So you're not actually scared that nobody's going to sign up for your program or listen to your podcast, but you might be scared of what you've made that mean. Maybe you've made it mean that you're not enough, you're not worthy, you're not valued. And at the end of the day, if we were to sit here and unpack that, take those rocks out of that backpack and peel those onion layers, deep down at the core where we get to is we don't feel loved. We don't feel seen for most of us. It's crazy. You're not scared of the simple thing you think you're scared of. But what's even crazier is that now you have that awareness, and yet some of you are still going to allow the fear to hold you back. Now, I'm not here to judge you for that, because at the end of the day, stepping through fear, stepping into fear, opening that door and unlocking that door where fear lives is super uncomfortable. In fact, it's the only way. They say it, the only way out is through. You got to go straight into the fire. That's the only way that you get to grow. When you think about nature and you think about plants and flowers and fruit and all of the things that grow in nature, the only way that they grow is through discomfort. They have to break through the surface of the earth. And most things like fruits and vegetables, they actually die. These plants die throughout the seasons. They go into this hibernation and rest mode during winter. And then there's a rebirth during spring. But again, they have to bust through the surface of the earth. They have to navigate the difficult weather, the storms, the droughts, all of these different things. There's a resilience and a discomfort that comes with growth. And so it's extremely important that you surround yourself with other people that are on this journey. You surround yourself with people that are in the river doing the same thing, trying to get across. That way you can help one another. You can comfort one another. You can hold each other accountable. So when we look at fear, whether you want to look at it as forgetting everything and running, I'm scared, so I'm going to run away, or facing everything and rising, I'm resilient and I'm going to push through, or maybe you just look at it as this idea that it's false evidence appearing real. And what that means to me is at some point in your life, you created meaning around something. It's valid. Your feelings are valid. Your central nervous system kicking up a notch, your palms sweating, your face getting flushed, your stomach feeling like you want to throw up, it's valid. The fear is real. It's your body's way of protecting you. But now you have a choice, and you get to make that choice of acknowledging the fear. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. Thank you for reminding me that I'm a human, but I'm choosing to go straight into the fire. So, what is something that you're desiring? What is something that you want to do or create or build or say? Maybe it's a podcast. Maybe it's a course. Maybe it's an Instagram platform. Maybe it's quitting your job, a difficult conversation, leaving a toxic relationship. What is that thing that you're scared of? And I challenge you this week to take that first step, not to worry about the stone that's 50 yards in front of you, not to look at the riverbank edge, but can you just, I know you can you just take that first step? Just look down right in front of you and find a close rock, a little stepping stone, something that looks moderately safe and comfortable, but still stretchy. And can you take that first step? So I challenge you this week, be committed to yourself and to your growth with one tiny little step. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you screenshot it and you shared it out on social medias. Of course, rate and review, subscribe. That also would mean the world to me so that we can continue to create great content to put out into this world to help more people create a bigger impact and income. And if you're ready to really take your self up a notch and take your own challenge up a notch, I encourage you to DM me, message me at I am Jessica DeRose, and let me know what that step is that you're going to take this week. Let me hold you accountable. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you shared it with a friend. And if you want the chance to win one of our incredible podcast launch giveaways, like a Yeti microphone, AirPods, or a super cute throwback Polaroid camera, all things to help your business evolve and explode, make sure you take 30 seconds to subscribe, review, and share on your socials. Be sure to check out our show notes for all the juicy details. And until next time, cheers to your evolution.